Let's go through red flags first.
I'm a little bit of a germaphobe, so a big red flag is somebody who's dirty.
Ooh,
Like,
that should be.
if she don't look presentable and clean and like she got good hygiene, gotta go.
My grandmother was like, "Don't bring no
Off the
dirty
bat,
girl
gotta
home to
go.
me."
And I'm big on odors too, so if you don't have like a natural good smell, like
Yeah, that pH balance got to be right.
Nah, you would be mistaken.
hygiene is important, y'all.
What up, y'all?
What
I'm
up,
so
what up?
excited. I'm Jeremy. This is Vonte with me, the great bishop, reverend, patron, apostle. Pastor Rod, who is our youth pastor here at Trinity Church,
Yeah.
and Pastor Tim. And we are in a series called Heart Over Hype. And what I want to talk about first before we jump in to talking about one of the big things we're going to talk about, just a heads up, is red flags and green flags in relationships. Like,
I got
what
some.
are big red flags when you're dating? What are big green flags? What do you look for? What do you not look for? But before we do, I think I would love, even Rod, as a youth pastor dealing with this, is there's this need, young guys and young girls, they're thirsty, they want to be in relationships, they want to be in those places.
Look,
Thirsty.
Real thirsty.
They're real. What would you say? Because I feel like the pinnacle sometimes in church world, we almost make it marriage, and marriage is not the goal. So what would you say to a young student like that's single? How do they begin to embrace the single season that they're in? And this is to all of you. All y'all speak into this. But how do you embrace the single season and look at it as not so much as I'm trying to get married, but a
Right.
gift from God?
yeah. I think the number one way for you to look at it is in I'm discovering who I am in Him.
It's good.
And I think when you figure it out in that lens, when you look at it in that lens, like, man, who was Rod before I got married, right? I'm not Rod the pastor. I'm not Rod the husband. No, like, I'm Rod the son before anything, and I'm his son. And so for me, in my single season, that's where I found the most joy, was just discovering myself in God. Like, what were the giftings that were in the inside of me? What was things that were locked in that God wanted to use my single season of being alone to uncover, you know? And so to me, for any high school or middle school, if you're watching, enjoy being alone with God. Adam did it. You can do it too, you know?
Yeah, Vonte, you've been a leader, and you are in a relationship currently right now. Come on, somebody. But for you, in the season of being single, like, what are some things that God has done in your life by embracing singleness?
I would say he taught me how to love myself first before I was ever able to even like attempt a relationship. Like, I had to get really good at knowing and liking and being content with who he made me to be. That's all.
Ooh.
That's like, once you know that, everything else will kind of fall in order.
I mean, Paul says it's a gift. Reverend Praise and Apostle Tim, who has a daughter who is a senior in high school, probably starting to date. In that season, I remember she brought a boy around, and we were both ready to,
That's right.
show up and show out.
That's right.
But what about you? How do you process this? Even like speaking to as a father to a daughter that's starting to step into this season.
Yeah, I think I liked your other question for everybody else better.
He's like,
This one got real personal.
Yeah, I know. Pardon me. I'm walking that out now. I wish I could say I had all the answers. What my daughter and I have committed to do is to be honest
yeah.
about where we are, and I just try to champion the journey that she's on. So personally, I don't know if I fully like viewing singleness as a season. I think you're living your life. Marriage, if anything, would be the season that lasts a lifetime. Because if I view it as a season, then I'm thinking that I'm missing out on the marriage season if I never get it. But if I view it as my life, I'm living my life.
Yeah,
That's good, bro.
I'm just living my life. I'm not in a single season. I'm living my life. And because I'm living my life, I'm enjoying it. Like, I got married probably, I don't know if it's young or not, but I in my mid-20s, early 20s, maybe 24, 25.
It's young to some people.
Yeah. So I kind of feel like it's not fair in some ways, because I don't know what it's like to wait till you're 30 to get married. but I didn't want to get married. I actually wanted to travel and
Yeah.
sing and enjoy life and preach. That's what I wanted to do. And so
Yeah.
I actually told my great aunt that I wasn't getting married. And my great aunt, who's with the Lord now, she's one of those old church mothers, and she looked at me. She said, "Well, baby," she said, "Are you gay?" I said, "Jesus." She said, "She said, are you gay?" I said, "No." She said, "That's right." She said, "I don't think you are." And she said, "This family does not produce homosexuals or whoremongers. And I don't think you called to be single for the rest of your life. So I'm going to be praying that you get married." And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, because I did not want her to pray for me to get married. I want her to pray that I would have the life that I wanted, which was to travel. And she was like, yeah, no. So
Did she make it to the wedding? when
she
y'all
did.
get
She
married?
made it to the
All right.
wedding.
Come
She
on.
totally
That's good.
did, and blessed all my children, I believe. Yep, she met all my children.
That's good.
So yes,
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I just try to I just try to teach my daughter, like, live your life, love the Lord,
Yeah.
and there's goodness in it.
Yeah.
Like, your singleness is not a problem to solve. Enjoy your life.
Yeah, I think viewing singleness is not as an alternative to marriage, but it's part of your life, right?
Mhm.
You discover who you are, self-discovery. You get to grow. You get to pursue the passions. Like, that shifts when you're married,
Mhm.
right? Life is massively altered. All right, so red flags and green flags when approaching a relationship. Some of us got to look back a little bit. I'm 16 years in. How many years are you in?
19 this year.
19 years. How many years are you in?
In what?
Marriage.
4, I think.
4.
5, going to 5, going
Relationship active. And so,
If you don't know
so,
how many months.
so, and so as we're talking about it, I know as a pastor, like, these are conversations I constantly
Yeah.
have of, standards and different things, of what those are. And so let's do this. Let's go through red flags first.
5. Red flags.
And they can be random as that. Like, I mean, if a girl showed up with an Android, I'm like, girl,
Look,
listen,
I'm gonna tell you a red flag right
I
now.
cannot.
If she don't let you take her to Cheesecake Factory, okay? Because there is this TikTok. I don't know if y'all seen it.
yeah.
There's this TikTok. This lady, she like
It wasn't
downing
nice
her
enough.
man's because he took her to Cheesecake. Cheesecake
This
is a
crazy.
great restaurant, okay? They got great
Avocado
cheesecake. They got the
egg rolls,
avocado
bro.
egg rolls, okay? Like,
Shoot.
Cheesecake is a fine establishment, okay? I get it. It may not be the top, but like, and Chili's too, okay? There's moments. No. Monte,
Chili's is like
not for a first date, but a date in general.
Where did you take your wife on your first date?
Man, where did I take my wife? I don't even know.
I don't
I think we
remember.
did like I tried to go all out. I don't know if we went to Clyde Warren Park. I did a little picnic thing. I think that's what we did. So
I was gonna take my wife to Applebee's, and she didn't want Applebee's, and we ended up going to McDonald's. And I was so grateful, bro. I was
Hey.
like, "Thank you, Jesus, Lord." Listen, but she still married me. It was a terrible first date,
Yeah.
but she still married me.
Fair.
yeah.
All right, what else? What you got?
Red flags?
Yeah, red flag.
If you can't bring her around your family or won't bring her around your family, if something in you is uncomfortable about her being in your community, whole red flag.
Right.
I was dating a girl in college, brought her to, my aunt passed away in Philadelphia. We drove from Tulsa, Oklahoma to Philadelphia. My wife, Brandy, we were all friends.
Yeah.
And so my wife was old enough she wasn't my wife then, she was just a friend. She was only old enough to rent a car. She drove. We get to my family, and my family all knew immediately that the girl I was dating was not the one, and that Brandy was the one. And I
Wow.
was pissed.
I'm sure.
They
I
let
was
you know
like-
too, huh?
No, I didn't know.
Oh.
I
Did
was.
they let you know?
Did
Oh,
they
yeah,
let me know?
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
they
yeah.
did. And I was like,
Yeah, family
and I was
goes
like,
there, you
and
yeah.
I was so mad. I was like, how do you even say that? Like, do you hear what you're saying to me? Like, I just knew this girl was like
Yeah.
the one. And every single one of my aunts, my mom, my grandmother, they always like, no, baby, she not the one. Then that other girl that you bought, she the one. And I was so mad. But they knew. And I was mad, but they knew. But I knew if I wasn't comfortable enough to bring whoever I was dating around my community,
Yeah.
people that I was like,
That's
flag,
good.
flag, flag, flag,
Yeah.
flag.
Yeah. What about you? What's a red flag for you, Vonte?
So I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little bit of a germaphobe, so a big red flag is somebody who's
nasty.
dirty.
Ooh,
Like,
that should be.
if she don't look presentable and clean and like she got good hygiene, gotta go.
My grandmother was like, "Don't bring no
Off the
dirty
bat,
girl
gotta
home to
go.
me."
And I'm big on odors too. So if you don't have like a natural good smell, like
Yeah, that
Yeah.
pH balance got to be right.
Yeah.
Don't lotion over it.
Yeah.
Let it be fresh.
sorry, I ain't gonna be able to do it. You can't do it.
That's valid though.
You know what I
Because
mean?
like people be steaking.
Yeah,
Nah, people be steaking.
Hygiene
like, look,
is
look,
important,
I'm
y'all.
dealing with
Listen,
middle school
okay.
and high schoolers. They dap me up. I say, oh my God, your
Oh,
hands
yeah, I know.
stink.
I know.
hygiene is so
I'm
important.
buying my
Yeah,
boys
it's
deodorant now. Like,
Especially
please
in
put it
this
on.
like crunchy era where like wearing deodorant is like health. Not wearing deodorant is healthy. I'm like, nah. Let's find a natural
Let's find-
organic
yes,
deodorant for you to not
aluminum-free.
be
Yeah,
musty.
Yeah, find the aluminum
You know what I
free.
mean?
Try. You got
Yeah.
to do something. Yeah.
Make an effort.
Agreed.
I
That's good though. Honestly, that's funny, but it's super good
Yeah.
because people need to know. Like boys need to know too. Like, yo,
Yeah,
your
boys
girl
need
needs
to know too, because some of these dudes, I'm like, bruh,
Yeah.
Trust.
take a shower. I think another one I've seen constantly that happens with guys and girls is when the person you're dating pulls you away from the community that you were
100%.
in and pulls you into isolation.
Yeah.
Like I think that is a huge red flag and should
Yeah.
be a red flag. Y'all smiling. What y'all smiling
Because
about?
we seen it too many
Yeah,
times.
too
many times.
Too many
Man.
times, too many people.
Where they at?
And he be trying to get on
Exactly.
me like,
Where
he's
they
already
at?
turning into that. I'm like, no, I'm not. Don't speak that over me. No,
I
I'm
don't
not.
feel like you are. I
I'm
don't feel
not.
like you are. I
I'm
feel
really
like you're
not.
engaging.
Nah,
I'm really not.
you're not.
Nah.
Yeah, no. Agreed.
I think
No
I think
isolation.
another one is this was another question within it, but it's a red flag, is lack of spiritual compatibility.
Yeah.
And so the question that was asked by a bunch of people was, how do you know if you're equally yoked? So like, what does that actually look like? How does that mean? I mean, you're a worship leader trying to date. You're in leadership on stage. People see you as a leader, and starting to date is like, I couldn't imagine being a pastor trying to date.
Yeah.
I feel like that's really difficult, and I know a lot of friends who've had to do it. But for that, how would you say, do you find somebody that's equally yoked? Not salvation, but
Yeah.
equally yoked spiritually, that can run with you, run with ministry, run with the call of God on your life. What do you look for, and what does that look like?
One, I look to see how the Holy Spirit is leading me and how I feel like as I'm getting to know her. This is real life what I did. As I was getting to know her, like I was confiding in the Lord and saying like, okay, are we like on the same level? Can she do ministry alongside me? And then two, I asked her and I gauge like based off of what she told me if her actions are following that, like because I'm very actions based. Like you can say one thing,
So she's
but like,
honest. She has to
yes,
be honest. Okay,
yes,
integrity.
and integrity.
Yeah.
So like
That's a green
I'm
flag.
holding on to like what she's saying and like monitoring that. Not like oh, you said this but you're not doing it, but like how often is the Lord coming up in our conversations? Like is she mentioning like in my alone time, just little things that like you
You're
don't really
looking
pay
for,
attention
yeah.
that I'm like just kind of keeping an eye out and
you
not
know-
like being oblivious to. Like, oh wait, we're married and do you spend time with the Lord? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Rod, what about you with students that are like young adults and students? Like, because you have a lot of leaders that you're still pastoring that are young adults. Like, what are some things a lot of leaders are dating right now
Yeah,
that are
yeah,
in
absolutely.
youth in particular. What are things that you tell them to look for to be equally yoked?
Yeah, for sure. The number one thing is they better love God more than they will ever love you.
Okay.
And that's obviously the basis, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's the actual yoke.
Yeah.
Right. And so make sure that they love God more than they will love you, because I feel like a lot of, especially girls, they'll settle for a guy wearing like a
Good little fit.
yeah, the little fit, the cross necklace. Oh, he Christian. Like he got
He
the
love
necklace. Or,
Jesus.
you know,
Especially
like,
if they're
but,
a
like he playing you know.
Yeah.
But no, for real, like truly, do they look at how they worship, right? Like kind of what Vonte was saying. Look at how they worship. Look at how they talk with their friends. What are their
Yeah.
conversations like?
Yeah.
Are they just talking about I don't know, just
And their
random
community.
stuff, or are they? Yeah, look at their community.
Yes.
You know, are their community pulling them backwards or pushing
That's
them
good.
forward,
Come on.
closer to Jesus? And so to me, is like, man, they better love God more than they will ever love you. That was one thing for my relationship with Tiff, is I got to see that firsthand. You know, we were friends beforehand. I'm like, man, whoever gets her, this was before I even liked her. I'm like, whoever gets this girl, man, they're gonna be blessed because she loves the Lord. So
Wow.
I think another red flag, this is going to be a question to you, because this was actually in a discipleship group that Pastor Rod and I are leading. This was a question that was brought up, and I realized we really don't talk about it much. But a red flag for me is someone who has no boundaries and pressures you to have no boundaries, right? And so the Bible talks about a righteous man, be careful to deal with his neighbor because they can lead you astray in Proverbs. So but the question was this, they were like, Jeremy, we know that we're not supposed to have sex, but where is it okay, and what boundaries, like how do I set boundaries? So speaking into that of having a green flag to the red flag of no boundaries, what are healthy, what are good boundaries? And really this could be to all of us, but you, I mean, you're right in the midst of it, talking to a daughter that's right there,
Sure.
bro. What are good boundaries?
Yeah, I think we're having man, that's a loaded question, so I'm gonna keep it kind of succinct. I think that we're having a conversation now in our home about what is sin, what is inappropriate, what is age appropriate. So if you're a teenager in my house, you ain't kissing.
Ooh.
No. If you're 13,
Good.
14, 15, 16,
17,
17, lips to yourself.
19,
Okay.
20.
When you, it's
20
just, is it a sin? No. You could be all girded up and you think that you're all in control and all of that.
Yeah.
You don't know everything about yourself yet. There are things being unlocked and discovered that you don't know. I have had to have the actual conversation with my daughter that there is clinically proven that there are parts of your brain that are not fully developed yet that are designed to be a gatekeeper and help you make sound decisions.
Yeah.
That part of your brain is not fully developed yet.
Yeah.
And what God in his goodness has done for you in this stage of your life is he's given you parents
Right.
to help you make the best decisions because that part of your brain is not developed yet. So when you view us as help, then we can actually help you. And we want you to be happily married one day.
Yeah.
If that's what God has for you, we want you to be that. We're not trying to keep you from that. We want you to step into that fully. So I think age appropriate is a conversation now for young adults. I think that if you're hiding and kissing, you're wrong. Just don't lie about it. If it's that innocent, don't hide about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, don't hide. If you got to hide to kiss, you shouldn't be kissing. Also, I think that as you're grown and you can make a decision, it's not a matter of sin, but are you putting yourself in harm's way or danger? So I think that these are the conversations that I have with youth, my kids. I'm having a conversation about yes, it's not a sin right now because, PKs will be quick to bring this scripture. That ain't no sin. Sit down. It's not a sin, but it's also age. It's inappropriate for your age.
Well, it's season appropriate. It's not even age appropriate.
Exactly, season appropriate. And so then, as I'm counseling young adults, the question is, what are your standards and what is your why? Because I think that the point of the boundary is untowards a why. We want to make it to the altar pure and holy before the Lord.
Right.
And we don't want to fumble and stumble into any kind of sin prior to. So when we agree on the why, then it helps us then I'm not the only one fighting for it.
That's good,
Because
bro.
then I can remind you of, remember, we agreed that this is what we want. And so these are the things and never wait for the fire to set the boundaries.
Well, yeah, once you cross the line, it's 3 times harder to bring it back.
Lord in heaven
yeah.
knows.
Song of Solomon says, don't awaken love until
Before
it's
it's time.
time. Right. And so oftentimes I remember my old senior pastor back in the day, he used to say, nothing under the Adam's apple. It was like, that's the rule, right? And he was like, nothing under the Adam's apple and nothing after midnight.
Hey,
Well,
that's good. I'm taking
that's
that.
really good.
I'm taking that.
Like, so anything below here, don't touch, don't feel, don't think, don't look. And
Don't poke.
Ain't nothing open after 10 o'clock
and,
but Walmart
listen,
and legs.
And I think that's a health, for a moment, let's just talk about what are healthy boundaries. Like I think at night being alone in a place like that, like that's a dangerous boundary to be in. Like when you're alone in a place late at night where there's accessibility, because listen, you're both you love
Humans,
each other,
mhm.
things start going, and it's so easily to be there. I think boundaries, my wife and I had, like, we were always trying to figure out, and what happens is because you love her and you know you're getting married, I felt like my boundaries had to get stricter. Because
Yes.
it felt
Yeah.
like I was like,
Yeah.
oh, we can do more, and because we're getting married, but then I had to put other boundaries up to guard
Yeah.
my own heart to not go somewhere where I didn't want to go
Yes.
until marriage.
Because you are becoming more and more intimate.
Yeah.
The journey from hello and dating to the point of marriage, you are increasingly becoming more and more intimate. You're sharing things you didn't share on the first date, on the 10th date. You're expressing questions that you didn't have on the second date.
Yeah,
or the
you're
fifth date.
opening your heart
You're
into a
opening
whole
your
nother
heart.
level. Yeah.
They're asking questions you may not have known anybody would want to know. So you are unlocking each other in unique ways progressively.
And pulling out things inside of you that you never
Absolutely.
even knew existed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, so yeah, I think that journey towards intimacy is beautiful and holy, and don't think that you can contain it all by yourself. You need boundaries, you need community, you need accountability to help in that journey.
Yeah. What about y'all? Any other thoughts when it comes to boundaries?
I agree with what you're saying about sometimes your boundaries have to get stricter.
Yeah.
I definitely have had to do that. Like we established boundaries
Come
early
on, strict
on.
boundaries.
And there have been times where I'm like, hey, we're on probation. We need to stop. And like, I feel like this because I know our why.
Yeah.
And at first I was kind of like scared to admit that to her, but she was like, no, like that's
Yeah.
wise. Like, let's do that.
And
I'm
that's
down for
leadership.
that.
It is
And
leadership, I think it's
that's what's
honored
going to
that-
help her to respect you when you have to make a call she doesn't agree with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
You
true.
know,
And
it's-
that's attractive.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, you care about me like that?
Yeah.
Oh, hold up.
I also think
Yeah.
it's important to have people in relationship, because, like, I mean, with your daughter it's different. You have your parents that are there, and some people might have great relationship with their parents,
Right.
but not everybody does.
Yes.
And so I think when you're even in the space of dating, even in marriage, is like you want to be around people who are one that have whole marriages, and you're aspiring to be that, to speak
Right.
into, but also inviting people in, because then they can ask you about the boundaries. Because when it's just you and her, you guys will agree in the moment because you're burning and you're excited, and then you'll regret it, and that's why even doing that is such a big deal. I remember having those conversations, and but just inviting people in, and it's scary, it's embarrassing, like because you have to reveal something.
And you have to have a commitment to honesty.
Yeah.
In vulnerability.
Come on. That's so good.
Vulnerability is very marginalized and regulated by your level of honesty. You're only going to be as vulnerable and accountable to somebody to the degree that you've chosen to be honest with them.
Yeah.
So you can tell me all the 8 people you have in your life to hold you accountable. They are only going to keep you accountable to the degree that you are honest. You have to tell them, I got close last night. You have to tell them, I'm on one right now.
Yeah.
You got to you got to tell them. If you're not honest, all of that accountability is not gonna really matter, because it needs the honesty to hold it.
But you could
accountable.
argue that even in your singleness, that's part of what God's developing in you, is the character that you're willing to be honest, so that when you're coming into stewarding a relationship, that you're able to do it with integrity.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's totally
when
good.
I got a story. So when I was at Bible college, one of the rules was no kissing. Try telling you, a young adult, 22-year-old, come on now.
That
no
won't church
kissing.
you his
Well,
whole
hold up.
life. Like, what you mean?
But my wife, she was an RA. I was an RA. So RAs at a Bible school.
Oh yeah.
You at the
Y'all
top,
the-
right?
y'all
You
the
can't
standard holders.
stumble, right? So I remember she would not let me kiss her at all. And I was like, okay, I respect it. And then we were going to visit my family for the first time. We were on the plane. And I was able to sneak one in. She let me, right? After that, conviction just settled in. Not in my heart, her heart. Not my heart, her heart. And she's like, babe, we have to tell the deans what we did. I said, what? Like, I just picked you. Like, it's okay. And she's like, no, we have to. Like, we're being dishonest right now. And so I'm like, oh, I love this girl, so I'll do it. So she goes and tells her dean, the dean of women. I go and tell the dean of men, and two different responses. He's like, I told her, hey, I messed up. I kissed her. And he's like, did you like it? I was like, yeah. He's like, okay, you're good. With her, it was different. She's like,
Did you like it?
you know, it's,
What kind of question?
yeah. It was different. For her, it was a little bit different. But even though she got a little bit more of a reprimanding, to me, just the honesty of like, no, we're gonna follow this rule, even though we think it's dumb. You know, like we're gonna honor this, the space that we're in. You know, and if you're living in your parents' house, if you're a young adult and your parents got some rules for you, you know, as far as your dating life, you know, respect it because you're living under their roof.
100%. 100%.
And if you know, so it was good in the moment. I was like, this is so dumb, but
I bet, 100%.
it was
She helped
awesome
you
to
stay
see.
accountable,
Yeah, and she helped me. Like she helped me raise my standards.
Yeah.
Come on,
You know,
that's
because
good.
it could have gone to other things if it was just
Yeah.
you know.
He was like,
It's
if we
easy.
confess in this peck, she gonna tell it all if I go.
trust.
100%. I do have one. I know your time is wrapping, but I got one practical red flag.
Okay.
If the dude won't get a job,
Mm,
do not progress.
mm,
If he
That's fair.
won't get a job,
right.
I didn't say can't. If he can't find one and he's trying, that's worth a hang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if he's got
Man.
these pie in the sky, do not marry potential. You're
Right.
marrying who's in front of you right now.
Come on.
Right.
Because potential may or may not be realized, and it's based on their work and opportunity.
Yeah.
You have to marry the person in front of you. You
Yeah.
can see
Good.
and hear what God has said about them and their potential. That's beautiful. You hold that in faith in your heart and you work towards that. But make no mistakes, you are marrying the person in front of you. If they will not get a job,
Yeah.
do not say I do. Do not. And only give a limited time in a relationship. Don't bury yourself increasing intimacy with someone that's not going to get a job because your heart is getting unraveled, you're getting deeper in emotions with them, and they still don't have no job.
Yeah.
And when it's time to make real grown moves, they're not going to have no job.
That's good, Tim.
And so you have to challenge. And if it's a problem from jump, my wife, her parents loved me. Like we were in towards the end of college, they loved me. I knew I was in. They were calling me son before I even proposed, right? I asked, so I
They
wasn't
were prophesying.
nervous I wasn't nervous to ask for her hand in marriage, right? So I'm like, can I, marry to make it formal?
Yeah.
I just knew I was in, you know what I mean? And her dad was like, and her mom were like, we love you, but you don't have no job.
Mm.
How you gonna provide?
And I was like,
For real.
yes, sir. And they and that's what they said. The minute you get a job, you're welcome to. You have our blessing, but you need a job.
Yeah.
And you know what? I respect it, because absolutely will be the same thing for my daughters.
Yeah.
For sure. Where is your job? I worked for a ministry. I made a good amount of money, over 6 figures. All of that. Lost the job. They laid us off. My wife and I. I had sung on incredible platforms, all this stuff. And you know what I did that next week? Guess who was hiring? Chick-fil-A. It was life's biggest demotion. I was on platforms, on TV, on this, that, and the third. But
Yeah.
the church made cuts and laid us off.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know where I was at? Chick-fil-A.
Come on.
Come on.
God's
You know
man
why?
cooking God's chicken.
Because
Hey,
God's
ain't
man
nothing wrong
cooking
with
God's
that.
chicken. You know why? Because I had a family
Yeah.
Yeah.
and had a responsibility. And the money I made at Chick-fil-A couldn't even cover all our bills, but it was more than me staying home.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you want a man, you have to marry a man, and a man will work to take care of his family.
Clip
Yeah, and I think that
That's
speaks to
good.
character,
Clip
bro. Like, I mean, the character of having to have a job, like knowing where you got to go and what it takes, no matter what it takes.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter how low you have to go.
Yeah.
In this last moment, I want y'all to think of one green flag, but I want to say something about intimacy for a moment. Is oftentimes we only think of intimacy in sexuality terms, but intimacy is what you reveal within your own heart. You can have a soul tie, which the Bible speaks about, tied your soul to somebody that you've never slept with, that you've gone so far to allow your emotional ties to be tied into. So even setting boundaries, not just physically, but even emotionally, until you know that's the person that you're going to be with. Like, you don't share everything, right? Does that make sense? All right, so real quick, as we conclude this
I did that.
time. You did?
I did that.
Oh,
for the
come
first,
on. Yeah.
For the first 3 months, we didn't touch each other. It was just straight up like emotional
I think you got to be
connection.
friends first.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you got to like the person.
Yeah.
Because beauty fades, and and you got to like them,
Yeah.
when you're 65 or 70. Like we're in it for the
Facts.
long haul.
Okay.
All right, big green flag when you're looking. What is and
Don't go with me.
Don't go with
me
you?
right now.
Don't
Yeah,
go
all
with
right,
me.
so I think I'll give you all mine.
I
Is
need
is
inspo.
Yeah, I need.
I want, and my wife is unbridled honesty. And so for me, I want somebody that's going to tell me the truth when it hurts, when it doesn't feel good. Now, I don't always respond well. Like, I'm still working on, I'm like, dang, girl, listen, like, you got to be for me. And she's like, I am. But, like, I want the person that I'm going to spend my life with to be honest.
Yeah.
And that there's no shadow of a doubt that she'll say the hard thing. She'll confess the hard thing. That we have that as a forefront of our relationship. So honesty is a big one for me, and that's what I look for when I saw her. And the second one, and then y'all go, just to give you a little more time, was I wanted to know, even what you said for the boundaries, is that she loves Jesus more than me. When I saw my wife pray, I was like, ooh, what up, girl? and it was that moment for me that I was like, I really like this girl.
Yeah.
She could sing and she could pray. Woo,
Come on.
boxes were checked. Yes, Lord. What about y'all, green flags?
Yeah, for me is integrity. Where's your integrity? And not just the integrity of like, are you just the same person
Right.
around people and like like the integrity of
that's
your
good.
character.
Yeah.
Like that's what I want to see. Like
Who you are, wherever you are.
Yeah, who you are wherever you are. And so to me, that was one thing that I loved about my wife Tiffany is, man, she doesn't fake it.
Yeah.
It's good.
Some people are like, she's faking it because she can't be like that. Like, no, like she really is.
Yeah.
And like my wife, she's a verbal processor. So she'll tell you everything that she's feeling in the moment. I'm like, I'm trying to give her codes. I'm trying to give her the solution. She's like, I'm not looking for solutions. I'm just trying to process it. But like, I'm like, man, she really is this person all the time. Like,
Wow.
And so to me, integrity of not just following the rules, not just doing the right thing, but the integrity of being who you are anywhere is important.
It's good.
To me.
Yeah.
What about you, Vonte?
I would say willingness to build together. I think this is something that I learned from my girlfriend's dad when I asked him if I could date her. He told me, like, yes, you're the man, yes, lead, but don't think that you have to have it all. Like, hey, this is what we're doing. This is how we're going to do it. This is the 1-2 plan to get to it. Like, invite her into
Yeah,
those
come
plans.
on.
And, like, for me, a green flag was that she's like a planner. She's like, I'm willing. I'm ready to, like, do this and build our life, like, what it's going to look like.
She's a builder.
Yes, and an activator. So that's something that was a green flag for me, that it doesn't like get me off the hook in a way that like, oh, I don't have to lead. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is she's willing to do this together. And
Yeah.
like, it's not just all the pressure and weight and responsibility doesn't fall on me isolated, but it is my responsibility to lead us.
Sure.
But
I
I know
love
that
it.
I have support.
So architecture together.
Yeah.
I was going to say this, literally the same thing, like that they're a solid helpmate. My wife I could feel her help before we got married, for sure. She's like,
Yeah.
what you want to do in life? Like, we could do that.
So
Everything became a we.
encouragement, building.
Yeah, she was like,
Yeah.
let's go. So that,
Calling out.
and then in independence, I just enjoyed that my wife stood in her own light. She was working on her own degree.
Come
She
on.
had her own friends. I didn't make her life valuable.
Yeah.
She saw herself as a valued, beautiful,
Yeah.
intelligent woman of God.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And
Come
like,
on, Bishop.
and my life became more valuable as she
Yeah.
entered into it
Yeah.
more. Like, so I just loved that she stood in her own life, and then she was so willing to help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you guys for being a part of this and helping shine light into conversations that typically are happening one-on-one, but really bring forth what a healthy, productive, life-giving relationship can look like. Appreciate you guys. Thank you guys.
It's the only free one you get.
You said what?
It's the only free one you
Yeah,
get. Next one is a
one,
revenue
I'm gonna charge you
contract.
$5.